I think we're being processed here.
Yeah.
That's okay. You can just step in and be easy.
Process.
Okay, sounds good.
Yes, no, we did that, I think.
Once we come in, can we go out for the bathroom?
I've got to go to the bathroom.
Who else are we?
Where do we sit?
Who else are we waiting for?
Sit yourselves.
Okay.
Let me go to the down first. Yes, sir.
All right.
Oh, did you say?
Where? Okay. Thank you. I don't believe I'm here. I think I'm actually somewhere on the streets of Oakland tonight.
I'm in LA.
I'm in LA? I can't believe it. I can't be in LA.
Yes, you are. You know, and we finally gotten a poet laureate. Have you noticed
Yes,
that?
I know. It's
Yeah.
going to be. I will say something about it.
Oh, yeah. So, do you want us to videotape this?
We have somebody do.
Oh, you do? Good.
We got it covered.
Oh, good. Okay.
Okay, well, we'll see.
Bless you. Bless you. I brought a tripod and a camera.
Okay, I'll give you your page. Just a minute here.
And then they went back, got a publishing deal.
Just say yes, so I
And I find out that he's getting, I find out more about him than I
Thank you. You know what? You endorsed me. I got all these notes in my email that you endorsed me for 4 different things. I don't remember what they all were.
I know, yeah, I'm sure.
But they were for dreaming interesting dreams,
Yes.
having impossible but interesting ambitions, and writing poetry. And what else? For having a great pair of boots or something like that. You endorsed me. So thank you for that. On LinkedIn.
Let me see your boots. They're all right.
They're
really good boots.
They're so, well, they've got the metal tips.
Yeah.
They've got the metal tips. So.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Thank you for saying
Yes.
that. I do endorse you.
Well, thank
love
you.
your-
I've got to endorse you. Now I have to figure out how to endorse other people. I got to go. I maneuver around LinkedIn and
Yes,
find
yeah.
out and find you and just push all the right buttons.
I know.
You know, all the good stuff and whatever she says she is. Why would she lie? If you're a great, if it says endorsed for brilliant and artistic pole dancing, I would say, yeah, I could see that. You know, why not?
I think we have to go into the theater.
All right, we do.
Thank you so much, and I believe all of it. Okay, come on, you have to go into the. Come on.
This is my favorite.
My book is, to use Donald Sidney Fryer's term, a chrono-encyclopedia of California poetry from 1940 to 2005. It covers all of California, but tonight is particularly a celebration of the South. British poet critic Donald Davies suggests that because the history of the Western states, both the brief recorded history and the much longer unrecorded history of the indigenous Indian peoples, is a history of human movement, and the still largely empty landscapes of these territories are images of nomadic life. The West functions as an arena for human life, to which the imaginative response is still, as it always has been, to move, to keep moving. Against this, Gary Snyder insists that the mobility that has characterized American life is coming to a close, as Americans begin to stay put It may give us the first opening in over a century to give participatory democracy another try. That both these elements, moving and staying put, are elements of Western consciousness is without doubt. Shane is on the side of the settlers, but he is himself a deeply nomadic figure who disappears at the end of the film, leaving behind him an image of a life that many envy, but few emulate. I wrote these introductory remarks about the book. Visions and Affiliations, a California Literary Timeline, Poets and Poetry 1940 to 2005, is a chrono-encyclopedia of a scene that stretches over 65 years. People, ideas, and stories appear, disappear, and reappear as the second half of the century moves forward. Poetry is a major element in this kaleidoscopic California scene. It is argued about, dismissed, renewed, denounced in fury, asserted as divine, criticized as pornographic. Poetry is as Western as the Sierra foothills, and the questions raised here go to its very heart.
Would you
beginning
move
with
the mic closer, please?
Okay, you're having trouble here. Repeat it. California authors keep generating massive anthologies in an attempt to tame the chaos of California, to pretend it isn't there. Yet there it is, staring them in the face like a great bear, alive, hungry, and more than a little dangerous. Names: William Margolis, Jerome Rothenberg, Paul Evangelisti, Stuart Z. Perkoff, Philomene Long, the Watts Writers Workshop, Lawrence Lipton, Tommy the Commie, The Temple of Man, Sarah McLay, Beyond Baroque, Wanda Coleman, Henri Coulette, Tony Sabella, Suzanne Loomis, Kate Gale, Robert Peters, the Coastline Poets, the California Quarterly Poets, Robert Nathan, Estelle Gershko and Novak, David St. John, Will Alexander, Amy Uyamatsu, John Thomas, La Loca, Peter J. Harris, Charles Goins, Jack Grapes, Amy Gerson, Catherine Daly, Benjamin Saltner, Frankie Rios, William Pillen, Donald Sidney Fryer, Marilyn Chin, Ray Armentrout, Dana Joy, Harry Polkinghorn, Timothy Steele, Leslie Mansour, Artie Armstrong, Gerald Laughlin, Michael C. Ford, Wallace Berman, Semina, with the examples quoted, Laugh Literary and Man the Humping Guns, with examples quoted, etc. How many histories of California are likely to include James Boyer May, or for that matter, Jim Morrison, whose poem The Opening of the Trunk is in the book? They're all Southern Californians, and they all appear in Visions and Affiliations. Unfortunately, despite the size of the book, there are no doubt many important figures I do not discuss at length or even name, often simply because of my ignorance of their work. I've tried to give space and commentary to as many people as I could, to honor what Elena Kim calls the legitimacy of differing representations of reality. And I've deliberately not limited myself only to the famous. I realize that I've necessarily been unfair to many. May books other than mine give them their proper place in the California summer. Tonight, we have a great many readers. Some of the people I've mentioned in my list. I've asked them to read in alphabetical order, and I've asked them to read only material from Visions and Affiliations. I'm grateful for their support of my book. I'd like you to come away not only with a sense of the excellence of California writing, but with a sense of its sheer diversity, its nearly chaotic nature. We're going to begin properly with the avant-garde. Please welcome Will Alexander.
Yeah.
Sister. It's Pegarty Long. She's a marvelous filmmaker, a marvelous person. She's an incredible, vibrant person. But she's here to read from the work of somebody you all know, Philomene Long.
That was absolutely unbelievable. Anyway, thank you so much. I can't even see you. You know, the first time I saw, or Jack introduced me to me, he said, think of me, he came from behind and he said, Pegarty, think of me as an Italian Irish leprechaun. I thought that was absolutely perfect. He looked like one too. Hey, Cora. And he kept talking, and then he kept writing, and he made this huge book. And only a leprechaun, I think, could make such an immense book. So he's asked me to read passages from Philomene's 2002 interview at the Audrey Museum. And you probably can't see these two pictures, but visual, whatever. This is actually Mark Twain at 15 years of age, and St. Teresa, the little flower. You'll see. As a child, I didn't identify with Huck Finn. I was Huck Finn. There was no separation between myself and Huck Finn. I joined that with St. Teresa in some fashion. The odd thing is that those were the two heroes of Jack Kerouac. It is an inherent conflict in which I always swayed back and forth when I finally did become a good sister, when I was a nun. Then I became a bad boy. Finally, I escaped in the middle of the night down the side of a mountain into the beat scene in Venice. In Los Angeles, there was a feeling that everything, even the chairs we sit on, could collapse at any moment. Earthquake. And that's a fine way to write a poem, a fine way to live. That is all falling down beside you. You can drive by a building one week, and next week it's gone. The next week it's a shopping center. There are certain aspects I don't like about that, but there's that moment-by-moment lesson in impermanence. It's like the Tibetan Buddhists that made their sand mandala. They put time into it, then scrapped it up and dropped it into the Pacific Ocean. That really is the way. That is the approach to writing a poem. That emptiness. You can't escape it. That in LA. And in LA, you can be anonymous. You can disappear in LA. There's a freedom. I think in Maine, they say it, think of the United States as a tablecloth. Pick up the tablecloth at the state of Maine and let all the knives and forks, plates and debris fall. It will fall into Los Angeles. And it's true. When they want to get rid of somebody back east, they give them a one-way ticket to Los Angeles. We are the debris of the freest country in the world. We are. And then now, Jack has asked me to read one poem from this great book. It basically is Philomene writing a poem which is kind of really scary. I write as the muse requires. For Frank T. Rios, Stuart Z. Perkon, and Tony Schiavella. I step inside the poem. I can barely see in the mirror, which is her sky. Through its cracks, let me say this carefully, I see her pullets, their diamond eyes, their lips of black velvet. But they are not enough to save the world from falling. Nevertheless, she exacts yet another death. Naked, they lie face down before a greater silence, a greater blackness. I cry out to them, but they do not hear my wailing, nor do I. I speak to myself with an alphabet that flows thick like blood at the edge of darkness. I no longer know what I have lost. Then, finally, the poem's agony of light.
Agony of light.
Yes.
Yes. It's something that one felt a lot with Philomene. An extraordinary combination sometimes of self-destructiveness, self-preservation, and total creativity. I mean, it's an amazing person, you know. I mean, she is missed.
I'm going to call it epitheme. So, and this is what it is at the top of the poem. A radio talk show caller said this, and it was in reference to a book that had been written about Los Angeles by an East Coast person who spent 3 weeks here. Okay? In New York, they think all of California is like LA, and they think everyone in LA has a maid, and they don't believe you if you try to tell them. It's true. Here we are all blonde, even in the dark, on Mondays, or in slow traffic, even in our off-guard moments, startled by a passerby. We are young. Here we are all privileged, even in our sleep. At night, the maids hover like sweetly tranquilized angels over the glazed or enameled surface of things, purring, clean, clean. It's all true. We girls sip lemon lime through a straw, make love, revel on our nails. We take our long, sleek legs out for a walk, let them catch the light. When someone snaps, "Get real," it hurts us. Real people like we've seen in the news. So we throw beach robes over our tans and cruise down the boulevard, tossing lifesavers into our mouths, our car radio singing AM. New York, is it true that in the rest of the world it is winter? Our state is a mosaic of blue pools, even the Mojave, and the palms line up straight to the Sierra Nevadas, and the surf comes down slow like delirious laundry, even near Fresno. New York, we're sorry we can't be reached by plane or bus. Sorry that you can't pull even the tiniest thing out of a dream. We're like the landscape inside a plastic dome filled with water. But turn us over, then uprise.
cross burning on the Jacobs front lawn. 17 when Watts explodes in 65. 44 when Watts blazes again in 1992. For days, the skies scatter soot and ash which cling to my skin, the smell of burning metal everywhere. And I recall James Baldwin's warning about the fire next time. Fires keep burning in my city of the angels, from South Central to Hollywood. Burn, baby, burn. In 93, LA's Santana winds incinerate Laguna and Malibu. Once the firestorm begins, wind and heat regenerate on their own, unleashing a fury so unforgiving, it must be a warning from the gods. Fires keep burning in my city of the angels. How many does it take? Burn, LA, burn. Everybody says we're all going to hell. No home safe from any tagger, gangster, carjacker, neighbor. LA gets meaner by the minute as we turn our backs on another generation of young men, become too used to this condition of children killing children. I wonder who to fear more. Fires keep burning in my city of angels, but I hear someone whisper, "Mi Angelita, come closer." Though I ready myself for the next conflagration, I feel myself giving in to something I can't name. I smile more at strangers, leave big tips to waitresses, laugh when I'm stuck on the freeway, content just listening to B.B. King's Why I Sing the Blues. Mi Angelita, mi Angelita. I'm starting to believe in a flame which tries to breathe in each of us. I see young Chicanos fasting one more day in a hunger strike for education, read about gang members preaching peace in the hood, hear Reginald Denny forgiving the men who nearly beat him to death. I look at people I know as if for the first time, sure that some are angels. I like the unlikeliness of this unhandsome crew, the men losing their hair, needing a shave, those with dark shining eyes, and the gray-haired women, rage and grace in each sturdy step. What is this fire I feel, this fire which breathes freely inside without burning them alive? Fires keep burning in my city of angels, but someone calls to me, Angelita, do not run from the flame.
Yeah.
Is Paul Evangelisti here? Because I didn't see him before. Paul, are you here? No, I'll read a little bit of what I was going to have him present. Paul, as you know, is a publisher and a poet and a translator, and his translations are very, very interesting, always. This is one from the Italian by Massimo Gualtieri. It's called Fauna of the Eye. Cancelled, difficult to explain, passes across the eye as in a shut room, gurgling the crank in the dusty stratum. Natural metamorphoses, the anomaly of each little word, distanced from the word already pronounced, and better the dream than the reality. The mechanical sleep of red cadmium and yellow. And just this little piece. And incidentally, I think we can say that we've seen tonight not everything about Los Angeles, but Los Angeles in a shattered mirror, different views of Los Angeles, different pieces of Los Angeles, ways in which Los Angeles has an effect upon all kinds of people and a differing effect upon all kinds of people. One of the reasons the first word of this poem is angels is Los Angeles. Angels is how man reads God. Bazooka. In the fridge, in the kitchen downstairs, he turns the lighty on, feels like flying. He loves to sleep or cook or ride in the rain. November 23rd and April 12th, A and A, dead of the heart. Oh, the morality of rain. Oh, the infamy of drain pipes in less than 5 months. Beep-bop-de-beep. The air is asleep. Cowboys weep. Mockers hot as pistols this pale morning. At what time can workers legally stop in a residential area? Flitting branch to willow to palm to no parking sign. All of that is, I think, a kind of commentary on Los Angeles. I'm going to read you part of the conclusion of Visions and Affiliations, and then Adele and I are going to conclude the evening with a kind of signature poem. The problem with doing a book like this is that you're always digging up new things which sometimes contradict what you thought you had. Nothing is secure. If you let yourself be too aware of the utter endlessness of the project, you're lost. You'll stop doing it. So you keep saying, okay, that's fine, it's finished now. But of course, there are many instances in which what seems to be finished turns out to be merely the beginning of something. You know the project is endless and constantly getting away from you. But you do what you can to forget that fact. And you comfort yourself with the momentary, perhaps illusory insights that arise as you go through. Slippery history. When songwriter, performer Marshall Barer blandly asked a young woman in his audience, "What's your sign, dear?" She answered, "Slippery when wet." Trying to write history is dealing with wet. That's why historians so often rely on the work of colleagues. The work of others offers some foundation, but colleagues too are often nothing but apple carts waiting to be upset. I think that all this activity reflects that self-questioning which lies at the heart of Heidegger's Dasein, a being which places its own being in question. It's not that there is no ground, but that any ground you find is tentative, temporary, temporal. For many years, God was the Urgrund, the ground of grounds. But once God goes, and God is gone, innumerable grounds appear, each with its bit of truth and untruth. This is a quote. Things are cast adrift, more or less like one another, without any of them being able to claim the privileged status of model for all the rest. Hierarchy gives way. If there is any Urgrund in this book, it is the constantly changing As I say, this is a kind of signal. Oh, wait a minute. Where's the other mic? Our other mic is coming. Thank you. Okay. Only 2 seconds to set up. I went out to the hazel wood because a fire was in my head, and cut and peeled a hazel wand, and hooked a berry to a thread. And when white moths were on the wing, and moth-like stars were flickering out, I dropped the berry in a stream. Okay? Are we all right? Okay, you can read the rest of that Yeats poem, Song of Wandering Aengus. This piece is called Overture Chorus, and it was a kind of opening.
highest good is like water.
That the hummingbird's wings are of a remarkable rapidity he had noted often.
Nothing could be done.
The shift of his breathing.
Had to begin.
12 o'clock and he still hadn't had a...
Dermal sensation.
The block of the governor.
Was therefore revealing.
The muck of the plains.
Living blues.
A means of reversing.
Whereof is so manifest.
Such crooked paths, such ways this palace hides.
Wit and power to study the travail.
New adventures list he undertake.
The way and its power.
Leading to the outside.
In the eyes of the law.
A long time and ideas rise up.
Toward gratification.
Inhaling.
Exhaling.
Rise and fall.
I name that audacity.
With him 100-fold.
Intellect does in the soul.
I name that audacity whose courage on man.
In the form that is.
With a heavenly heart.
Excitations unbounded.
Indolence.
Indolence and distraction.
Directly the roots of.
Towards punishment, towards.
The origins and histories of
black
consciousness.
Faces, bowels.
Dispatched from the earth by his brothers, he began to breathe again. For a long time now I have felt the void like the plague,
power,
creating in the soul the craving of
the greatest force,
wild animals,
size of the altar,
indispensable for those who to apprehend his meaning aright.
Our most logical form, the syllogism,
like consternation spread,
as the greatest force,
and the big hat with the turquoise inlaid eye.
At the bottom of her soul,
look, Nina, it is the general,
on the vermin of the house,
holding back,
the lymphatic milk of fishes,
made in silence,
through the way,
more literary than music, though so-called music,
the swarming population,
love for this little while,
sugar cursey, fish hook,
from the freshness of my eyes,
little boat and a smell of,
the revolver,
ready,
come, O bird, settle a moment, experience anything,
a bullock wagon,
the tramp of feathers, the thunder drop, the white snake.
For a long time now I have
felt the void like the plague. It is the revelation, a formidable call to the forces that impel the mind. We do not see it as it is, but as it has been fashioned.
Moving heads on rollers,
animated
a
hieroglyphs,
disinclination or resistance,
rolling eyes,
pouting lips,
muscular spasms,
mirrors,
shoots,
sources,
limbs, and appear is burning, east is burning. The old man drew in a black spirit hugely against, in the flickering light, again, against, in the earliest march, courageous, far more astounding, the days in which sweet Bryan, Nebraska, at the spring, at sunset, the night in disguise, who knows, the would-be merman, the foolish queen, adventures while singing, when Peter Jackson preached in old church, factory windows are always broken, this is the price I pay for the light I shall someday see, and what if my body die of this small inland town? But drunk in tears, no bird, great beds of poppy, only a sleep dissolved in thunder jars, no guardian, 9 times battered to wear and weaving. Oh, keep him safe, reveal him, whose he was and who he was, with the peak of the mountains that his bones were boulders, the Egyptian ash ship onward she bore a chop, clop, clop of horses, stored, assembled, and disassembled, the startling impact of their loud bursts of noise as they arrived at unpredictable intervals of the stream.
The way that can be told is not an unvarying way.
The names that can be named are not unvarying names.
It was from the nameless that heaven and earth sprang.
The named is but the mother that rears the 10,000 creatures. Heaven and earth are ruthless. Few understand me, but it is on this fact that my value depends. The lines which spread.
The theater's alchemy.
At night, anyway.
In a tight
net.
The huge.
When I saw that the light appeared, I was astonished.
And again fell down, fell dead away.
This is indeed the spirit of wisdom, the eastern source.
Preserving their antiquity.
For none of the pleasures I have is equal to what is given me.
The lines which spread.
The theater's alchemy.
Some of these seem much older than was thought.
God's immanence or indwelling in the world.
A particularly searching theory of the Shekinah.
The king on his throne.
Followers developed in great detail.
Most shameful sinners burn.
The process of creation burns. There are 2 versions of it. In Genesis,
in short, before all else entirely practical.
Works of the chariot.
The sage must speak as though he were lower than the people.
Shh! Block the passages. Shut the doors.
My hopes for the theater.
Logos in vacuum.
Innermost joy.
Bound by love.
These are the
manifestations.
The next morning I communicated to my teacher.
Lines that spread.
Thank you all for coming here.
You on something. Where it was. Maybe somebody just sent me a video. No.
I did not get you on video. I think somebody else has, but you know, you were absolutely fantastic. I can't believe it. Broke my heart. Because I'm just shooting.
Can you Photoshop it so I look 16?
We don't want you here, Herb. Here, show you.
Here's a picture. Is it? Are you related to?
Here's a picture we got of you.
That's me, yes.
Do a soft shoe if you.
I don't know if I can anymore.
There you go. Get the feet.
I have the feet. Oh, it's so
What
good
is this
to
about
see
defeat?
you. So good to see you, Jack.
Oh, good to see you.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful.
Are you going to
wonderful.
click that thing?
Oh, no, there. I'm going to end it with that.
All right.
Congratulations. An unbelievable book. Immense, from a little Italian, Irish vampire. No, not Irish vampire, Irish leprechaun.
Close.
This is my favorite.
Memories episode. Pretty good.